schedule, if we want to look at that. Starting off, Jay, at noon, Cleveland at New York. Of course, we have to have one Madison Square Garden game. It's a must on Christmas.
Yeah.
San Antonio versus OKC at 2:30, second game of the day. We got Dallas versus Golden State at 5 p.m. The marquee matchup, Jay, the 8 p.m. slot. That is the most important slot when it comes to Christmas because that's when your family's finally there. You're having your Christmas dinner and you're sitting there watching basketball. We have KD LeBron showdown, Jay. Houston versus Los Angeles Lakers. And to cap it off, for all you sickos, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Denver Nuggets. Jay, I think it's pretty good. How do you feel about the schedule so far?
So I think it's pretty solid. Obviously, I think there's a couple of things that were really interesting. Shout out to the San Antonio Spurs being featured on here as a team that wasn't in the playoffs last season. Shout out to the Dallas Mavericks, a team that obviously needs to be able to feature Cooper Flag in a real way, and they're going to be able to do that next to Anthony Davis. Hopefully, he'll be healthy by then in order for this game to look the way we want it to look.
That's always going to be a question with this Dallas team, isn't it?
Yeah. But obviously, TV, the elephant in the room when you first see the schedule is, boy, oh boy, the Western Conference glazes out and a foot, boy.
The NBA knows that the East is down bad. They know the East is down bad because one matchup and no interconference matchups, Jay. This is all within the same conference of all these games.
Yeah. I think it's really noticeable, obviously, the 4-1 situation here between Western Conference matchups compared to Eastern Conference matchups. Like you said, nothing cross country either in terms of any East versus West teams either in this slate. And I think that's a noteworthy thing, man, because the NBA obviously is all about ratings just as much as they are about putting together just like a solid product. There's the interest factor that also has to kick in, and I think that a lot of people have already kind of preordained this season as being a wash for the Eastern Conference and kind of looking at it as whatever team comes out of the West is probably going to be the official champion at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I understand that to a certain degree, but I also feel like it doesn't give a chance for some of these other Eastern Conference teams that are on the rise to be able to step in front of these bright lights and be able to show off what is supposed to be the next generation of superstars, right? I think the one thing that really stood out to me more than anything within this Christmas Day slate is that, man, they are holding on to the old foxes so long.
I was going to say.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I mean, by sticking to the Western Conference, and it's kind of inadvertent, but by design at the same time, by sticking so heavily to favoring the Western Conference. I mean, the Lakers with LeBron, obviously we know they have Luka Doncic as well, but the Lakers with LeBron, Houston with KD, the Golden State Warriors with Draymond, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler.
Dallas with AD. Yeah.
Dallas with AD. I mean, obviously you still have Denver with Jokic. But I mean, Lord have mercy. I mean, they very much favor the old foxes very much. So between the Western Conference glaze and the holding on to the OGs for dear life, man, this Christmas Day schedule screams one word, TV: nostalgia.
It is going to be, man. It is 100% going to be. One of the other things, too, and I think I got brought this up when I was watching a TikTok. This is the first time in 10 years Boston has not been in a Christmas Day game. It has been over 10 years since Boston has not. And obviously, we know why they're not here. One, they didn't make it far into the playoffs. And two, no Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
They have a whole rebuild roster now. Yeah. They're having discussions whether pay purchase should start or not. That's how this is the state of the Boston Celtics right now. So we know that they're not going to be in there. Obviously, the NBA sees what we see, Jay. Yeah. And the Eastern Conference is down bad. But even still, I was surprised not to see, even a chance with the Philadelphia 76ers with the amount of star talent. You want to talk about Unks, Jay. They still got freaking Joel Embiid and Paul George over there. I thought that they maybe would have had a chance. But I agree with you. The NBA, and I think this is a problem with the NBA in general and just their marketing strategy. Look, they need to start building up these other guys.
I'm saying,
There's so much talent in the league. And I know maybe they're not in your ideal markets, but at the same time, we've seen the constant growth of the Orlando Magic. We've seen, why not bring back, now that the Atlanta Hawks are look like a competent and a fun team again, put Trae Young back in New York. You already know there's a storyline built in over there. There's different teams. The Detroit Pistons, what a meteoric rise. Continue to build that star power of Kate Cunningham.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they hold on to nostalgia. This is what people, and I think why they make the Christmas Day games as it is because this is where you know you're going to get, Jay, quote unquote, the casuals into the, this is where you're going to have them lock in as well. So you want to have as much branding name as general. And I understand a lot of these matchups. But I 100% agree with you, Jay. We need to start building up these other guys
Oh man.
again in the league. And I think as we continue to hold on to the LeBrons, the Stephs, the KDs, there's only like 2 or 3 more years left of these dudes.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen after that? We already talked about all these guys in their short timelines. We need to continue to start building up these guys. And I hate to use the WWE term, but maybe you can give the rub from these older guys and, give it to a bit of like some of the younger teams, right? Like you have like I mentioned, a New York team taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Maybe you have a LeBron and MSG game, sorry, like a LeBron and like versus like some other teams. Like you need to start using these like older players and getting that eyes towards your younger talent. I think that's like the biggest thing here. I know the East is in a down year, but I 100% agree. This year more than anything, Jay. So much nostalgia, and I'm surprised that the Clippers aren't here if you're going to go for the nostalgia factor as well.
Honestly, that was an interesting team that I thought was left off, especially because the Clippers just had a really good summer, man. I mean, I think across the board, they kind of tackled some of their bigger issues. Getting Bradley Beal on the deal that they were able to get him on after swapping out Norman Powell, I think you get a lot of fill in the blank there in terms of certain things that you don't get offensively, both in the starting lineup and potentially in second units. That Norman Powell is very solid, but I think Bradley Beal is a natural one, is a guy who I think can man a second unit in certain spurts without Kawhi Leonard and James Harden on the floor. That just gives you another push. You upgrade center, backup center, which LA, the Clippers particularly, had one of the worst backup center rotations in the NBA, and they're in the same conference as the Denver Nuggets, by the way. Just throwing that out there. When we talk about backup centers, Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers are not two teams you want to be favorable for if you're talking about the 2024-2025 season. This year, they come in with Brook Lopez at backup center. That's huge behind Ivica Zubac. So they really put themselves in a solid position this summer. You bring in John Collins as well. Like, I thought they did really good. I'm not saying that the LA Clippers 1,000% should have been on Christmas Day, but I am surprised that if they were going to go with the OG slights and kind of lead in that way, I'm surprised that the Clippers didn't get one last gas, given the fact that, James Harden and those guys did look good towards the back half of the year before the playoffs.
Yeah, and just Jay, I mean, just recognizable names: Kawhi, James Harden, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal. These are just a bunch of guys that it's just known throughout the league, known to even some of the casual fans. So I'm just surprised they're not in there.
Yeah,
but I think overall, even though we do have our little quirks here and there, it's still a pretty good slate. I'm very excited for this Christmas Day slate.
Yeah.
And Jay, what we're gonna do now is rank them from your least excited to your most excited, and kind of see like where we go from there. We're gonna create our own because we, again, like we said, we have some of our problems, and I think we can make it better, Jay. Especially with the amount of storylines that the NBA is very much known for.
Yeah,
we can definitely make better. But Jay, out of all these teams, you want to start with most excited, or do you want to start with least excited?
Let's start with least excited. Let's build hype as we go along.
Sure. Okay. So out of these 5 games, Jay, like when you look at this slate, like which game are you like the least excited for?
So the one that I'm the least excited for, if I'm being honest, is the one I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on at this point because we've seen it enough, and I think we understand that these guys are solid. Minnesota versus Denver to me just feels like one that if it's not high stakes in the playoffs, I'm not really sweating it too much. We saw it. We saw Ant and those guys face off beforehand. We know how special Nikola Jokic is. Let's be honest, I don't even know how interested Nikola Jokic on Christmas even is nowadays when it comes to hooping. The guy's just going to casually walk himself into like a 14, 10, and 10 because he's probably not that engaged. He's more worried about getting back to the fam for a little while and getting on a certain kind of break before things really start to pick up on the back half of the season as the new year transfers over. I think that the Denver Nuggets are a solid team, but they're kind of slowly but surely becoming like, Jokic is so special, but he's kind of fallen into the Tim Duncan slot of like, he's so special that we don't even acknowledge it for what it's worth anymore. And the rest of his team just plays really good brand of basketball. You got names like Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson's on the team. You bring back Bruce Brown. You know what I mean? It's a solid team, but like, you might get yourself a highlight play here and there with an Aaron Gordon dunk or a crazy Nikola Jokic play, but it's not a whole lot of anything super crazy going over there. And with Minnesota, I mean, look, it's the Ant Edwards show, and that's all of it right there. I'm gonna be honest. This team is in a really interesting spot. You lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Obviously, you put yourself in a really solid position by being able to retain Julius Randle and Naz Reid. But this team didn't do a whole lot this past summer to get better.
The same team, basically the same team.
So this is a team that's running it back with Superman Ant wearing the cape. And other than that, you look at Julius Randle and think, you got to ask yourself, TV, We've had this theory about Julius Randle have been pretty correct so far. Every other season, Julius Randle gets hit with the kryptonite and turns back into Clark Kent. Last year, he had the cape on for a good part of the season and was looking damn near like an All NBA caliber player. Are we waving the kryptonite in front of Julius this year, and he goes back to being pedestrian, where we're throwing him in conversations with Tobias Harris like we used to do? I'm just saying.
No, I understand why you have that number 5. For me, Jay, like my number 5, funnily enough, Dallas at Golden State. I'm just like,
interesting. Okay.
It's more like I feel like that's the most volatile matchup of the sense because we mentioned it before, and I think we quickly touched on it. Dallas is like out of all these teams is the most likely to fall apart before Christmas.
Very true.
Very volatile. True. And it's not even that. I mean, yes, it's going to be great to see Clay back in Golden State, but we had that moment last year. We had that moment of him going back to Golden State and doing that. It doesn't hit the same like the second year after. And like besides that, there's not really much of a storyline there. Yes, it's going to be. Yes, I'm happy to see Cooper Flagg, the number 1 overall pick, be in the Christmas spotlight again. Hopefully, like the Dallas Mavericks are at full strength by then.
Yeah.
But there's just nothing really to stick with teeth, and I love seeing Steph. And then there's just no, and there's not like any like internal beef. Like I feel like there's such an easy matchup you could have done here on Christmas, but you decided not to. And yes, you're gonna have like these two like teams with like very notable stars, 100%. And I'm glad again the number 1 pick is there, but it's just the most volatile. And I just think that out of all these games, I feel like as time goes on, as we get closer to the date, we're gonna like lose that bit of that luster going towards it.
I think that's fair. I think Golden State is in a really tricky position as well because you do have to ask yourself if it wasn't for the Steph and Curry star power, like how excited would people be about seeing Golden State on Christmas this year? I think that alone is already kind of tricky. And then again, like you throw out there with the whole Dallas Mavericks thing being that Anthony Davis, we don't know. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is not going to be playing by this point.
Either,
right. So it is putting a lot of the star power onus on Cooper Flagg. And the fact that Cooper Flagg doesn't have like any real storyline static with Golden State, and neither does AD, even if he's healthy for that matter, if I'm being honest. It's one of those things where you have to really kind of ask yourself, like, I mean, is Golden State really a Christmas team anymore? And is Dallas
Steph is a Christmas guy. Steph is a Christmas guy. It doesn't matter
Steph is definitely a Christmas guy. But then I would ask you, but then you have to follow up by asking, like you said, is Dallas really the team for that then?
Yeah,
if that's gonna be the thing, you know?
Yeah, no, there's a built-in matchup they could have done, and they just clearly just went away from it, which absolutely sucks. But yeah, that's my number 5. Jay, I'm gonna say my number 4, and then you give me your number 4.
Okay.
This is where I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have. You know what? I'm gonna have Minnesota Denver. This is where I'm gonna have Minnesota Denver.
So we're inverted then. We're inverted.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have Minnesota Denver here. I feel like I really enjoyed that matchup 2 years ago, and if they want to start creating these rivalries, obviously Ant versus the Denver Nuggets has been like a really good story for over the last couple of years. If we're gonna keep doing that, and this means like building up Anthony Edwards' star power, if it means like having Nikola Jokic, who's again one of the most entertaining basketball players in the league, I'm happy to have it here. It just sucks that it's at 10:30. But in terms of, again, this is the game for the sickos. This is where you want to see Anthony Edwards show out. This is where you want to see the best player in the league, Nikola Jokic, play. I'm good with the matchup. I feel like maybe there's a different matchup you could put here, and I'm going to put that when we do our ideal Christmas schedule. But I understand like what you're saying there, especially with the surrounding cast and all that. Obviously not the biggest markets, but this is why it's at 10:30. And if you want to stay up 10:30, like a lot of us basketball sickos want to, this is where you're going to watch Minnesota Denver, and it's going to be a damn good game.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, like you said, it is like a sicko fan game for sure, and it's going to be one of those that you might end up like really just paying attention more to the nuance aspect of the matchup because it's one of those that we could potentially see in the postseason.
Yeah,
just because
at least this team has history too. At least this team has history.
And I think that has to be a big part of what you incorporate in the Christmas Day matchups, right? Because like you said, storyline drive is so important for these kind of games because like you said, the casual fan is incorporated. So although, let's talk about a team like Orlando, for example, right? I think that there's plenty of storyline around Orlando this upcoming season. Paolo Banchero being a potential MVP candidate as a guy that's going to be on a top-level team in the Eastern Conference with everything shaking out the way it is, right? Jalen Suggs coming back healthy. Orlando was the first domino to fall in terms of making a move this past offseason, making the Desmond Bane trade. The Desmond Bane trade was what set the fire ablaze to then see the Kevin Durant trade happen with Houston and so on and so forth, right? So you have the storyline of associating a team like the Orlando Magic as this team that made the first swing of the 2025 offseason to make themselves better and put themselves in position to be in that conversation as definitively a top 3 team in the East with everything that's been going on. You have them. You have Atlanta, who made real strides this offseason. And I think arguably had a top 3 offseason of anybody in the NBA this past summer. And they're putting themselves in a position to be able to build around Trae Young in a way that I don't think we've been able to confidently say since about 2021. Truthfully. Right? So I think there's these different, like, when you look at the broad spectrum of inviting the casual fans, you have to be able to put that kind of spin on it to bring people in, because you also have to understand, TV, going back to us pushing the young stars, without that storyline, people can't get attached to those younger players. And without the platform, people don't know those players. So no storyline and no name equals no understanding. And when those names that we're so used to go, you're left holding the bag because you're not sure who even the main guys in the league are anymore. And I think the NBA has to work on that.
Yeah, 100%. So that's my number 4. Who do you have at your number 4? Would it be like my number 5, I guess?
Yeah, we're in, like I said, we're inverted.
We're inverse. Okay, we're inverse. Okay. Mm-hmm. At number 3, Jay, what do you have at number 3?
So at number 3 for me, this is where San Antonio OKC is. Personally, okay. I'm not gonna lie, that's just where I am, because I just think that these two teams are on 2 totally different tiers right now. I think that San Antonio is obviously solid. Victor Wembanyama, I gotta see a full season of him. I just have to. And I think in a matchup against Chet Holmgren, which we've seen in the past be a really good 1v1 in the front court, should be really entertaining. I think the guard matchup, Kentucky versus Kentucky with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and De'Aaron Fox, should be really, really solid as well. I think the depth of Oklahoma City is going to put themselves in a really good position as usual. San Antonio has increased their depth at the guard position particularly, but how does it fit? Very interesting versus an Oklahoma City Thunder team that knows exactly who the heck they are right now. San Antonio probably on the different end of the spectrum with that, where they don't even know the full grasp of what they have in Victor Wembanyama just yet, as far as I'm concerned, right? So 2 teams on 2 totally different platforms here. I think that Oklahoma City is still a tier 1 team. I could see San Antonio being closer to like tier 3, tier 4 if we're talking about the entire league in terms of just like the talent discrepancy. You love to see Wemby on Christmas, but you just gotta wonder if this is gonna be a complete, belt to ass from OKC, because they're just dang good, bro.
I feel you. I'm a bit higher on this matchup too. I'm actually gonna put number 3, Cleveland at New York. Okay. I think probably 2 of the best teams in the East going into this year. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. And I think like the fact that it's the first game to start today, obviously the MSG vibe is going to be absolutely immaculate. Mm-hmm. I think that these top 3 teams, like these top 3 games are like, there's like some sort of gap between these and like the bottom 2. And I'm still super excited for this game. I like, and I'm going to tell you right now, I have San Antonio and OKC at 2. Mostly because Jay, like, this is the young matchup that we've been waiting to see. We've been saying about like having like building up these young stars. On the San Antonio side, Dylan Harper, Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama. If all is healthy, man, this San Antonio Spurs team, I know you say they're a tier 3, tier 4 team. They could surprise a lot of teams this year. Hopefully, hopefully they start to build up that chemistry and have a good record going into this game. And of course, OKC defending champions. You already know they're one of the youngest teams to ever win a championship. Period. So like the fact that you're seeing these 2 young stars battle it out, these 2 young cores, I just have a lot more investment in that matchup compared to a Cleveland, New York. Yes, they're the 2 best teams in the East, but again, storyline, I just don't. I mean, like, yes, the New York Knicks beat them like a couple years ago, right? And that's where you got the Jared Allen. Oh, the lights were too bright, sort of meme or something like that. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like you could have had a different matchup for both of these teams. Yeah. So like, they're like, as much as I like that there's the 2 top teams in the East, I feel like there's just a better matchup there. San Antonio, OKC, I F with it, bro. I fuck with it. So like, I feel like that's my number 2.
I mess with it. I'm not really mad at it, like where your positioning is, because at the end of the day, like, I don't think we're too far off. I'm just not. I need Victor in particularly to really show me again, because I think this is a guy who is a top 10 player when healthy. But I feel like, again, similar to a guy that might end up coming up on the podcast later on, Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
We're getting to this point, and it's not nearly as deep into his career as Zion is, for example, right? But we are slowly but surely creeping to this point where we have to ask ourselves, like, if we're going to be able to see a full year of Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, he hasn't been in the league that long, but his injury concerns was something that a lot of people were worried about coming into his career with the San Antonio Spurs, just given his size and frame. And so far, similar to Chet Holmgren, who got a lot of the same knocks, we have not been able to see a steady, consistent dose of Victor Wembanyama, which has hindered them a lot and has in turn hindered the San Antonio Spurs team from being as good as they really could be, even with them being so young.
Yeah, I'm just happy this is early enough in the year where Wemby usually gets like injured, February, March. So I'm just glad it's early enough in the year that they're hopefully both these teams are healthy. So yeah, I have those at number 2. I mean, like, what did you have at number 2? Did you have the MSG game?
So yeah, number 2 for me was the MSG game. Personally,
Yeah.
That's the one where I first of all I'm going to favor the East Coast game a little bit more just because it's the only one.
Yeah,
right?
fair.
I would say
fair.
that this is the only game in the entire slate where the two top teams in the conference are facing off against each other. Every other matchup, very, very variable, I think you could say, in terms of where these teams are going to be in the standings. I think that you can make a good case that Oklahoma City would be like a number 1, but I could see San Antonio somewhere between 6 and 8. Houston and Los Angeles, they're probably going to be somewhere fighting between the 2 and the 6 seed. Dallas and Golden State, I think they're going to be between that 5 to 8 range. Same thing with Minnesota and Denver. I think Denver could be really good around that 3 spot. But
basically, they're all playoff teams, but the positions could vary.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like close your eyes and throw your dartboard, throw a dart at the dartboard, and like you just never know how the Western Conference is going to shake out. I think in this case with Cleveland and New York, until we see what Orlando really looks like, this is definitively the open matchup of like these are the 2 top teams in the Eastern Conference on paper. And I'm glad that we get to see them in this matchup. I have a different matchup in mind for my slate just to be able to increase the Eastern Conference love a little bit. But I think with what they did, showing the Eastern Conference what love they did, I think at least making it the 2 top teams in the East was the best way to go about it if you were only going to do one Eastern Conference match.
Okay. Oh, no, I feel you. And I understand that's your number 2. That means our number 1, Jay, we have to say number 1. Houston, Los Angeles. I mean,
come on, man.
What's there to say? LeBron, Luka on one side. You have KD and the young the young Houston group on the other side. Probably one of the last times we're going to get that KD LeBron matchup. Go out, take advantage of it when you can.
Yeah.
I would like there's a different matchup I would like for the Los Angeles Lakers, but I'm not mad at this one at all. I'm still probably going to be the most hype looking for this one, just because we already know the amount of battles that KD and LeBron have had over the years. The fact that we can do this again still in 2025, you have to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of the most important thing, right? Is that if you're going to maintain that nostalgic factor, 2 guys that have to play, KD, LeBron, have to play. The fact that they're both in the same game only sends things even further up the roof. Are there other matchups that could be just as interesting with those guys in them? Sure. But those 2 guys facing up against each other, can't be mad at that either.
100%. That's why that is the ranking of our 5 games. Let us know what you guys think down below. But Jay, like we mentioned before, we can make this better.
I think
we're going to try and make the best possible Christmas Day schedule and give me supporters, because if this is good. This is going to have people in their seats. But Jay, we know we could do better. We know we could do better. And that's what we're going to try and do with this schedule here. We're going to go through each time